Alright guys, it is finally time for the most insane Blue Kayn guide on the planet. The long-awaited Blue Kayn guide. And for those of you who don't... Okay, man, what the hell am I saying? Alright, let's start off with summoner spells at first. The best and only summoner spells you will ever need for Blue Kayn are just Flash and Smite, simply, every game. You do not need Ignite, Smite, you do not need Exhaust or whatever. All of these inventions, I can see them working on Red Kayn, but for Blue Kayn, your Flash is like the most essential resource to like carrying games basically. Alright, as for the ruin setup, this is the only ruin setup you ever need to use on Blue Kayn. You can use it every single game. It will be the best option in every single game. So you just go Dark Harvest, Sudden Impact, Eyeball Collection, and Treasure Hunter. You never want to go Ingenious because you pretty much never use any cooldown items until late game with Edge of Night and GA, I guess, which is not much value. As for the secondary, you want to go Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight. Many people ask me, why do you not run Futures Market and Boots? Why do you need Cosmic? I will explain this more in details later on, but I'm gonna say for now is that basically for my itemization and playstyle, if you have a playstyle that works with Futures, like it's fine, be my guest, use Futures. I'm not saying it's a bad ruin to go. Like, it's an option, but I will explain why it doesn't work with my playstyle. Okay, as for the build, you wanna always go Blue Smite for the movement speed. You do not need the extra damage from Red Smite. You do not need the shield from Green Smite. You wanna go a potion because your clear isn't as healthy and you don't wanna be low HP when getting invaded or ganking. Now, as for the early trinket, you want to buy it and you want to always ward either his inner raptors or enemy blue side. If you get denied, you can ward his blue buff, and you want to keep the trinket for around like 8 minutes, I would say, until you almost get your form / you want to start contesting objectives and you want to like clear vision, and then you buy sweepers. As for control wards, generally I would buy one early game and place it in a bush that's very useful, yet it's most likely not gonna, like, the ward's not gonna be killed as fast, so I can make maximum usage of it. But basically, do not obsess with control wards. I buy like 2 at max per game, sometimes 3 if it's like super situational, I guess, but that's all you need to do for the early. As for the early backs, you want to look for Dirk usually at your first reset. If not, it's fine, you can look for longswords, 1 or 2 or even 3 if you don't have enough for Dirk, it's fine. And you want to build towards Duskblade. Since I run the boots and the inspiration, you don't gotta worry about buying boots. But even when you get boots, you never want to do boots early game, especially before you're mythic, in my opinion. And your core build is gonna look something like this every single game. Like, no matter the situation, every single game your core is this, in this order, but forget about boots. I'll talk about boots in a second. You go Dusk into Axiom, into Cyrilda's. This has the highest damage / snowball / cooldown / lethality type of build. Nothing can counter you. Like, neither plated steel caps nor Zhonya's, nothing. You will one-shot, you will have low cooldown on ulti, you will have everything you need. Now, for the boots, you want to only buy it at the patterns that I'm going to mention to you. Let's say you bought Duskblade and Dirk. That's a very insane spike. And let's say you bought it and you're ahead, like you're 5-0. Then I would go for boots after it because I already have enough damage to snowball, so I would then want to have the cooldown on my abilities, ulti, and spells. But if you're behind in a game and it's a hard game, never buy boots. Like, never, until the last item. Because when you're behind, all you want to do is you want to focus on making a comeback, getting the shutdowns, so you want as much burst as possible, so you go for maximum damage. Another situation you can buy boots, as I told you, Dusk, Dirk when you're ahead. Sometimes I have enough like gold, like I'm super ahead to the point I have enough for Axiom on a reset. I go Dusk Axiom, and after that I go Boots. Sometimes I'm super ahead, I just go the 3 core items. After that I look for Boots. So it's basically whenever you feel like you have enough damage and you bought your spikes and you don't have anything better to buy than Boots, and you feel like you have enough damage in the game, because sometimes you're against certain drafts that you need even more damage than the usual. So whenever you feel like you have enough damage, basically, you can then buy the Boots. Generally, I build this exact build every single game. But I'm gonna talk about what can be changed. So as I said, these 3 don't change. I spoke about the, like, when do you want to buy Boots, basically. As for Edge of Night, most of the time it's the best 4th item. It's kind of defensive, yet you even go for more damage in case they start building armor and trying to counter you. But your 4th item possibilities are usually either Edge of Night or Serpents. If you're literally against 0 CC, which is almost impossible, like even if you're against Nautilus alone as the enemy CC, Edge of Night is pretty worth, in my opinion, especially 4th. And if you're just against, like, let's say a Janna or something, Serpents is not worth, in my opinion, so I would most likely go Edge of Night. But if there's heavy shielding team, you can go Serpents 4th. If not, heavy CC, just go Edge of Night. If you're literally in a super exceptional, like, draft, and you're against, like, no CC, no shields, which I don't know if it even exists, but even if it does, but you want to go more damage, in such case, you can either go earlier GA 4th if you feel like you're not gonna like damage, or you can just go for even more damage and cooldown by buying Prowlers. But those are like your only options to like play around with the 4th item, in my opinion. Generally, your last item always is GA. It's the best. You're gonna have enough damage, you're gonna have enough situational items by buying either Edge or Serpents. And you should always go GA, it's really useful. You do the stopwatch into buying the GA, which is very, very useful late game. You can go for like an insane combo and still like survive for objectives or even ending. And another thing I want to mention, stopwatch actually. As for stopwatch, you can buy it after your 4th item, but you can also go for an early stopwatch. So sometimes when I have my 3 core items and I'm looking to like end the game and not give the enemy my shutdown, I buy stopwatch after the 3rd item. And I go for a stopwatch play, and sometimes I even have enough gold to buy GA and I just go GA 4th. But that's another scenario that I wanted to explain. As for Mortal Reminder, you almost never buy it, but let's say you're against literally 5 healers, like I don't know, Fiora top, Yone mid with BT, Soraka support, and your team is just refusing to buy healing reduction because, I don't know, let's say you're in low elo, no flame. You go then Mortal Reminder, it's fine, instead of Cyrilda's, but that's super exceptional, but I like to mention it. Lastly, Maw. Most of the time you do not want to build magic resist, it's pretty much useless. But I can see it if you're against, like, let's say Syndra mid, Karthus AD, Evelynn jungle, I don't know, a tank, magic damage top laner, and let's say Evelynn got fed. Like, I would see it as better than GA in my opinion. Or you can even go at 4th. So that's about it for the build though. Okay, as for the ability order, you want to always start Q obviously for your clear. Afterwards you want to upgrade your E, so you can path faster towards your next camp and heal up a bit so you can stay the healthiest. And of course after that you can go for W because I do not go for a full clear. Okay, as for the rest of abilities, you want to put 3 points on Q and then the rest points fully on W. Of course you maximize ult whenever you can. And after that you complete finishing your points on Q and lastly your E. But the purpose of doing this is because, in my opinion, I play for a very early form, and having your W being stronger than your Q is more valuable. Because people tend to like dodge or flash your Q and stuff like that more. Meanwhile, your W for poke and AoE damage has more value. Okay, as for the early pathing, as you can see, I just ward the enemy raptors preferably, so I can have insight of where is he gonna gank, so I can ping my teams off. Or deny an invade, or like predict an invade, so I can counter invade, I guess. And when my red camp is bot side, I clear Raptors red into Grump into looking for a gank. Okay, but here's the play. When you do Krugs, as you can see, I'm gonna get my Q up, but I don't use it to clear the Krugs. I keep it so I can avoid vision. So what you want to do is you want to Q over the wall, and then wait, and then Q over the Dragon Pit. This way you're gonna avoid vision. And so my game plan usually is I look for 3 camp into gank mid or bot, right? So this is why you should always keep scouting your laners. As you can see, mid's like pretty deep. I don't even need to scout it. Bot here was free, but my brand inted his early lead, and he's still level 1. The wave's pretty bad, so going for that gank would be a bit of a grief. So because of my top lane ward, I could afford to take his Grump here, knowing that it's 100% safe. And now that I see my enemy bot lane a bit overextended and inted with this turret shot, as you can see, I go for it. As you can see, I'm holding my abilities. I always wait for them to flash or heal or sidestep or react. You want to always hold your abilities, preferably walk to them, wait until they flash. After they flash, you flash, auto Q, auto W, they should be dead. And yeah, usually like if I insta use W, for example, they're just gonna flash my W and like I can't do much. And basically your W stuns you, and if they flash your W, you're not even gonna be able to reach them even after you flash after them. But yeah, anyways, 2 longsword, control ward, reset. This is what I usually look for. And after that, I path to my bot lane, top side, I mean. And when I do that, it's one of 3 things actually. Either Kindred is taking my blue, which is totally fine because he cannot take more than that because I will have 2 longsword advantage. Or he's looking to make a play on the map, which also, even if I'm gonna be 1 level behind in case he did a full clear, because I usually don't take enemy Grump, so there's a chance he did a full clear and he's a level ahead of me. Even if he did that, I will have 2 longswords advantage, so I can still contest on the map and look for orbs and kills and impact. And if there's none of these 2 things that I just mentioned, all I do is continue clearing normally. It's fine. Path from top to bot again. Look for the same gank path. You avoid the vision through the Dragon Pit. You can also avoid the vision through the topside pit. I can show you guys a picture. As you can see, guys, in the pictures, you want to use these paths, basically. These are the best ganking paths. You can go through the walls from behind to get a good flank. And you can queue over the Dragon Pits to basically avoid vision, because most likely laners are gonna ward bushes in river or like near the lanes. So yeah. And yeah, you just path bot lane again after you do this early pathing. And yeah. Now many people ask me, yo Aura, what do you do if you like get cheesed or you're late for your camps, or I don't know, you get invaded or whatever. It kind of happened here, but in a different way. I just kind of got denied canceling his ward. But basically, let me give you guys a tip early game. If you get cheesed in any way possible, I don't know, getting low HP, getting late to your camps, because if I went to my Raptors here, I would be late. I don't know, Tristana trying to steal my small Raptors. Whatever it is, you will have to play the flip game. I don't care if it's not consistent. If you get cheesed, you have to pull the cheesing card. And as you can see, this is what I did here. For example, there was this one game where I where I got invaded, I mean. I was starting my Raptors, Lissandra came all the way to my Raptors to queue them and deny me of getting level 2. And so I had to smite them, and I made sure I didn't lose the small ones, but I had to smite Raptors. This is very bad for my clear, so what I ended up doing is, since I warded enemy Raptors, I know that enemy junglers started bot side. So what I did is I did my Raptors into invading enemy blue / Grump into a top gank. So basically, whenever you get cheesed, look for another cheese. If you get cheesed and you path normally, you're gonna be a little bit behind for no reason, and you shouldn't allow that. Alright, I need to explain one last thing about your early game. So basically, when you go for a gank, and let's say it's either not gankable, or it's like, as you can see here, like, the gank is not bad, but let's say it didn't work out because we didn't get kills or even assists. So what you do here is you can insta reset with a longsword. You get some orbs, you get sums. You can path from top to bot again, and they don't have sums. Or you can not gank to begin with and go to your top side. Now I know this is gonna hold you back a little bit. There's a chance that you got invaded. There's a chance that he's just gonna hit level 4 and have more impact on the map than you. But that's totally fine because you're gonna also have high tempo because you have a longsword now. Plus, you did get orbs and you got enemy summoners basically. Like as you can see here, I came to my blue buff. He did take 2 of my camps, so the worst case scenario happened, which is he invaded me. But this happens a lot. It's fine. Catch up XP exists. You're playing for early form, early impact. Like as you can see, what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna walk bot lane because I'm assuming there's 100%, like it's 100% up. So what I do is I do scuttle into invading his bot side. He's probably gonna not have a longsword like me. At the same time, his camps 100% will be up because there's no way... Okay, keep this in mind. There's no way you got invaded and he took all of his camps, especially early game. So you can find a smart way to catch up in CS. As you can see, we're both 20 CS right now, even if one of them was scuttle. So in terms of being behind, you can almost never fall behind with this playstyle if you play it correctly. If you get punished for your play, just be smart. Think, predict where is he, what's the next move, which camps are gonna be up, what can you do to make a comeback, and just do it. Okay, another tip I want to give early game is, as you can see, enemy Kha'Zix dies top, right? Do not allow the enemy jungler to do a play on the opposite side of the map without punishing him. If there's a gank potential bot lane, go for it. If there's a dive potential like here, go for it. Do not autopilot on farming. Okay, sometimes punishing the enemy jungler for showing top by taking his camps is not bad. But you know, he can just do the same, especially if he doesn't die. If he kills your top laner, goes for the top play, shoves the wave with his top laner, and then just invades your top side, you basically lose more than you gain. Sure, you took his camps, but he took your camps and killed your top laner. So you should always prioritize punishing the enemy jungler for showing on the opposite side of the map by doing objectives, killing the opposite side of the map laners, aka bot lane here. And after you do all of these, or in case you can't do anything on the map, like literally you can't kill them, or you can't, I don't know, there's no objective, then you can go for camps. Okay, another tip I can give you guys early game is never play around your weak side. If you have a 0-6 bot lane like I have, I think they're 0-5 this game, but basically whenever you have a hard inting lane, just let them be. Give up your jungle. Do not even bother try to counter gank because you're most likely gonna lose. Look to play for the opposite side of the map. Look for opposite objectives. Look to strong siding your, for example, mid top here, because otherwise, if you even have a chance of winning the game, if you play around them, the chances are literally doomed. So yeah, always like play with your strong side. Do not weak side yourself as a jungler no matter what, because at the end of the day, like even if you're gonna like get the wrong form on top lane, if top lane is your win con, it's the only lane playing, your bot lane's inting, do not go bot. Even though I usually prioritize playing around bot side, by the way. So yeah. So basically when it comes for objectives, I usually go for early Drake, even as Kayn. If you're level 5 with Dirk, you can solo it and it's fine. You're gonna lose some health, but it's fine. You can like still manage on the map, you don't have to reset. But you only want to do Drake basically if you have prios, otherwise you don't want to flip it for sure. Here, as you can see, also another tip I can give, whenever you like enemy jungler is doing Herald, for example, you shouldn't let him do it for free. You should do Drake in return. And yeah, but generally like don't force objectives. I'd say do them smartly. If you have prio, go for it early game. If you don't, just give it. It's fine, not the end of the world. I feel like people, especially in low elo, obsess with objectives. Which is better, early Drake or Herald? I mean, if both Drake and Herald are up at minute 8, I would personally prioritize Herald, but that does not matter which is better at this point. It matters of like which lane has prio, which lane would be less riskier to contest. Like if your top laner is weaker, I wouldn't go for Herald unless I can know I can sneak it. So yeah. And my last advice would be do not try to force your laners with no pryos to contest stuff. I see many people doing it. They spam ping their laners. Oh my god, Rek'Sai is invading me, when they know that Rek'Sai is 10 times stronger than them as early game Kayn. So yeah, just be more like willing to give. Don't greed, don't get emotional and go like, how is he allowed to? Yes, he is allowed to. You're playing Kayn, you're weak early game, let's be honest, let's not cope. So yeah, give, play smart, play opposite map, take objectives, play around your strong side, know which fights are good, don't force your laners into bad fights, and you should be able to win every single early game. Alright, now we're gonna talk about the mid game. There's not much to talk about when it comes to Kayn's mid game, but basically there are two types of ways of playing mid game. One, which is this case that I'm showing you guys right now, where I'm behind, I'm not forcing anything risky, I'm farming / playing for secured kills, but once I get like a decent amount of damage, aka 2 items, I look to collect shutdowns basically. And so this is how you want to play. When you're behind, look to play for shutdowns. Try not to follow your team's ints. Look to play mechanically well, of course. And once you collect the shutdowns, you should be able to make a decent comeback. And after that, you should be able to like 1v9 kind of. Alright, the other way you can play your mid game is by permanently abusing, I guess, bot lane or laners in general that are behind. You can look for objectives, Herald, Drake, getting turrets, shadowing your laners, playing side, forcing dives that are good when you have like vision on the enemy and stuff like that. You can like walk into the jungle, make sure it's not warded, camp in the mid-side bush, look for like plays with your team, like basically to maximize your snowball effect, and so you can get an insane lead, so then you can like win late game basically. But what I wouldn't recommend doing is that, true, hover your laners, gank a lot, have a lot of impact on the map, you're fast, but especially with my playstyle, once you get form, you kind of just want to go for secured plays. Because if you keep like moving around on the map, you will end up really behind in CS. So as you can see, what I kind of do is I play super aggressively early, then once I get form, unless I have my ult flash up and I know a play is good, then I would go for it. Otherwise, I would just continue full clearing. So basically, I play reverse Kayn. I start full clearing the moment I get my form, basically. Alright, lastly for like mid-game tips is that do not play too aggressive. Do not go for flip 1v9 montage flash WQ plays. I know it's fun and all, but you really don't want to give your shutdown, especially for no reason. Only fight for objectives and like only give your shutdown when you actually have to fight. Do not go for random dives, random 1v9 flashing in type plays. Do not go for such plays. You only want to go for stuff that you know the outcome of, or like when you like for example have to contest Baron. You don't want to give your shutdowns for fun. You don't want to throw the game for no reason. Also, another like tip for mid game, do not think that you're faker. Like even when I know that I'm the best Blue Kayn on the planet, I play around my team's stuns. I do not depend only on my mechanics to hit my abilities. Play around your Rakan ult, play around your, I don't know, Yone ult, like in this case, in other cases, play around your team's CC. Because why do you have to greed and give the enemy even a chance to react to your combos? Alright, as for the late game, there's not much to say as well. Basically, play around your flash WQ combos. You want to do the most impact in team fights. As you can see here, you want to go for most AoE, you want to flash on the main threat in the enemy. You want to use your kit to the fullest, kill them without using R, then use R when necessary. You can play around your stopwatch as well. You can play around your flash, your GA, and then you want to prioritize objectives as well. And in my opinion, like, if you play Kayn mechanically well and you know how to snowball early game, if you go for such late game plays like flash, WQR, you literally kill 3 and survive, and like you just can't lose. But I do have to say, things you should avoid in late game. Do not try to be the hero. Do not look for 1v5ing, flashing in. Always look to play around your team. Even if you're low elo, trust me, you can use them as a resource to carry. When you engage, think why you're engaging. Are you getting something out of it? Do you have a huge shutdown on you? How risky is it? Is your team able to follow? Is your team's champs allowed to even follow? Like, do they even synergize with you? Ask yourself, are we contesting this? Why not? Keep in mind the enemy summoners, because like late game, one mistake, the whole game can be doomed basically. Another very important tip I forgot to mention about early mid game with Blue Kayn is that you do not want to like generally poke a lot or prioritize poking with your W, because it basically shows your whereabouts. You kind of want to play sneaky in the jungle. You don't want to like show yourself so they can like then counter you by reacting and stuff. And you don't want to play like through lane. You want to play through jungle, get ready to get a good flank, flash in or whatever. At the same time, like poking in general isn't the best thing you can do unless it's like very exceptional situations. But generally, poking puts your E on cooldown, your passive on cooldown, shows where you're at, ruins your opportunities of like, I don't know, ambush, surprise, factor, engage type of thing. So just try to avoid getting used to poking. Alright, when it comes to Kayn mechanics preform and combos, there's not much to say. You basically want to gank with your E for the mobility, for the good flanking and all of that. You always want to walk up to them and auto before queuing, because that basically, you know, gives you the second auto cancel timer, like the reset. You don't have to wait between them by just standing. You can at least hit your Q in between the auto reset, that's what I mean. You want to hold your W because it kind of CCs you. At the same time, most of the time enemy laners are gonna either try to dodge when they see you, so there's no point in using W instantly, or they might flash. So hold your W to last, I would say, unless you're sure they have no dash or flash, and you want to slow them for your team, I guess. Otherwise, using W too early is bad. It literally kind of CCs you, and the enemy just can dodge it easily if they're good, or just flash it. Keep it for after they flash. You can flash after them and then auto W. Or you can just save it for when they're out of range and you just use it at full range basically. As for the Blue Kayn mechanics, I mean, I'll start off with the basics. Basically, you want to drop autos in between your abilities. Of course, sidestepping is really important. Try to hit your Q fully. Do not use your Q, like your initial Q has damage, right? Do not use your Q only as a gap closer. Another really good tip I can give you for late game combos on Blue Kayn is that you need to play around your Duskblade invisibility, as you can see, and you can always go for the WQ stopwatch. Yes, you still deal damage with your Q through the stopwatch, and you can always like deal maximum damage until the last breath, and yeah, use your E to basically dodge stuff. Okay, as for how can you always secure hitting your W, or like what's the trick to always hit your W, I would say just if you move to the left, they're gonna dodge to the right. They're gonna mirror your movement, so always hit oppositely to the place you're moving to. As you can see here, I went top left, Lux tried to dodge bottom right, basically. Okay, the final tip that I can give you guys for when it comes to mechanics is basically your ulti. So you want to insta ulti when you flash in like that, so you never get CC'd. As you can see, I did it in like 0.2 seconds, or you couldn't even CC me. At the same time, you can like always use your R to like dodge stuff or avoid CC. Alright guys, before I end the video, I wanted to talk about the forbidden build. And I did talk about this because I go this like 10 to 15% of the time. It's super rare. You know how I only play Blue Kayn every single game? And let's say I'm literally against 5 tanks or 5 fighters or whatever. I do still play Blue Kayn, but I kind of like whip out the forbidden crit Kayn build. So I'm gonna show you guys now. So basically you want to go Conqueror, Triumph, always. You can go Tenacity if you're against like a tank, high CC team. If not, just go Alacrity. And most of the time Cut Down is better, but yeah, there's no way you're going to coup de grace when like most of the time they're going to be higher HP than you, because the whole point and purpose of this build is playing against tanks. And your secondary should always be Magical Footwear and Cosmic. Damage, armor, you should never change any of those. Alright, as for the build, you want to go for a Green Smite because the whole purpose of this build is to allow you to stay and survive longer in fights, so you want to use that shield. And in this build you go Eclipse for Mythic, 1 because of the shield. Goes really well with Conqueror, you're going to be a bit tankier, you're going to last longer in long fights. And it scales 10 times better against tankier comps because it gives penetration per item. As for the core items, you always go Eclipse into Collector into LDR. Now you're synergizing these two because, first of all, 5% health execution against tanky comps is really valuable. Second of all, LDR crit with Collector crit with Eclipse, you're literally gonna one-shot tanks, have shields, be tanky. At the same time, you're going to have a lot of penetration. As for the boots, you want to go either Ionian or Tabbies. I mean, Plated Steel Caps, excuse me. But basically, Ionian is more consistent because this build has low cooldown. But in case of like playing against heavy AD team, you can go Plated Steel Caps. You can go even Mercs if you want to. And as for the full build, this is how it will look like. Generally, your strongest full build is this. 4th item BT is so broken. And then lastly, GA as per usual, you need defensiveness. But situationally, you can go one of these 4 items. Now, of course, like you can go something like QSS in case you're against, I don't know, Malzahar or Lissandra, but preferably not. But you would be able to tell if it's needed or not. But basically, you can replace the 4th item, which is BT, with anything situational. Serpents for a lot of shields, Maw for heavy magic damage, Edge of Night for the shield defensiveness. And yeah, only play this build though when it's really needed and you're committing to Blue Kayn like me. Alright guys, that's all for today's guide though. I hope it wasn't too long and you guys like got what you asked for basically. I hope I didn't skip anything. And I hope you guys can like 1v9 your games now. And yeah, I made sure to make it not the longest thing ever, but I guess with the most info possible. So yeah, have some fun Blue Kayn gaming, and see you guys later.
Shadows touch all.